to 5. You can't say, okay, no, that rapists must be controlled 24 hours a day. And so the corruption that once was out of government must be contained. The Tadadaho is never to leave the central fire. He does not have that right. As a matter of fact, the chieftainship titles no longer have the right as individuals to say, well, I'm going to Myrtle Beach. I'm going to Europe. I'm going over here. I'm going over there. No. The chieftainship titles do not have do whatever you want. You according to the protocols. But the representation does not have that right. If you could imagine, let's say right here at the base of your arm where it's connected to your shoulder, wherever all the thoughts and information travel from your brain to your arm to make your arm do whatever, if it's snapping your fingers, if it's bending your wrist or bending your elbow or moving your bicep, all that function of your arm has to get the information through one central point where the nerve passes through right there at the joint. Now imagine if there is a sentinel there, that it's dependent on receiving the information from the brain and then it sends it on to the arm. Now imagine if that sentinel says, oh, I'm going on vacation, I'm going to lay on the beach for a week. Well, you know what will happen? That arm will just be there. And for a week, you won't be able to move it until that person or that thing gets back from vacation. Of course not. That is utter stupidity. Today is utter stupidity with people who don't understand what chieftainship title means, what title of Taradaho means, what all the Onondagas who hold titles mean. They are not permitted, they are not allowed to leave their territories. Today they do because of the corruption that the white man puts into their mind, the corruption of male dominance. That these people holding titles, oh, they can go prancing around the world. They can go to The Hague. They can go to Europe anytime they want and present or pretend that they are representing their people. It's not true. If that thing here in my shoulder is what is conveying the message to control the rest of the arm or to give the rest of the arm life, if it decides to go over there to The Hague to represent, can it actually represent if it's not there? It cannot represent. This is the corruption that exists right now today in the rest of the so-called Confederacy because men, corrupt men who are male dominant holding titles are projecting that they can choose. They are dysfunctioning under democracy. That they are choosing to do something that they are not supposed to do. Because from the instance of the creation of the Five Nations Confederacy, the central fire must always be there to keep that central fire prepared for at any instance to hold Grand Council. And that would mean, you know what? You might be woken up at 2 o'clock in the morning. You might have Mohawks banging on your door. Bang, 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 bang. We got an emergency. Emergencies don't only arise from 9 to 5 or when the sun is up. Emergencies arise anytime. And so, Onondaga, Tadadaho, must remain at that central fire constantly. He is no longer himself. When a person takes on that responsibility, they give up their individual self. And if they don't want to, then that person is not eligible to hold that title. And if they are not eligible, they do not hold that title. Even if at one time They were given that title and they went along and they were doing fine. And then all of a sudden, when they're 50 or they hit midlife crisis, they say, "Oh, I'm going on the beach now." No, that person does not have to be deposed. Their own actions deposes them, removes themselves from law, and then the people, which all the underdogs are equals, take cognizance of it, and that person who may hold Taradaho even is removed. Not 4 years down the road when there's another election, because we are not democracy. We do not vote. We go based on Constitution. And the Constitution is, law is that your central point of consciousness, imagine in your body if it went on vacation. That's stupid people who are dysfunctioning under that mentality today. When you know that, again, in the spring equinox of 2009, we identified here in our house, we could determine that the current state of our Mother Earth's health had now reached emergency status. And we said, I said myself with my own words, that you do not have time. You do not have time to go back to your schools, your universities. You don't have time to go back to your jobs, because these are all the corruptions that are killing our Mother Earth. We must now focus 100% of our time, our energies, everything, focus on protecting and defending our Mother Earth. That is because I had to say that, because Taradaho and all those other titles, the people who are supposedly holding those titles all left their station. And so I had to climb to the top of that tree and identify emergency status. When you're emergency status, if you're in an emergency, let's say you're at war, does your mind have time to go on vacation? What would happen to your body if your mind went on vacation? You're in the middle of the battlefield, you're just ready to go like this, and your mind goes on vacation. What happens to your body? Your body will be subjected to whatever the conditions are, the circumstances are. So the body can be killed while Taradaho is on vacation or at the Hague. While any other underdog chief is prancing around the world playing these silly little white man's games of so-called democracy, that the nation is being killed right under their feet because of their action of leaving their station. When you have responsibility, you don't leave. Who does leave when they got responsibility? You got a baby, little baby there. It's all our responsibility. And I decide to leave. What happens to that baby? Well, that baby's subjected to the rest of you. And what if the rest of you all of a sudden decide to do something that only I would catch? You would be compromising that baby. So the reality is I am compromising that baby when I leave my station. Since we declared this in 2009, we have not left our station. As some of you know, we do not stop. It continues every second of the day. There is no stopping in this effort. As to establish peace, there is no stopping in that effort. Formation of Women's Nation, understand something. You can make yourself redundant after this law recital. Because if you go on vacation again, you will be redundantizing yourself. And when you make yourself redundant, you make yourself ineligible to hold that position. And you push yourself out of the way. You think you got time to go on vacation? Forget it. That mentality is not a human mentality. When does a mother get to go on vacation? You know when? When she dies. You don't go on vacation any other time before that. So when does a leader of the people go on vacation? When they die. Can a clan mother retire? No. You know what Handsome Lake does or other people? Their clan mothers retired. It cannot happen. That is not something in law. That is a corruption of male dominance. You can never retire. That's a false man-made construct. You're doing a job that nobody else can do, and then you retire, hoping that somebody else is going to come along and be able to do that job. That mentality is a male-dominant, destructive mentality. It causes these little black holes, these little gaps. If whatever job I do, if I make these boxes, and they're so important to the world that only I know how to make it, and then I go on vacation, hoping that somebody else is going to come along and know how to make this box, and they can't. Well, you're all dependent on these boxes. You need them to survive. They're not going to survive. Somebody who gets put in a position can never refuse it. And if you do, you're ineligible. You make yourself ineligible after that. So, there's no questions or anything?
Um, I want to know, is there any Anadaga left that are actually respecting the tradition? Not at all.
No. There are no, within the word of law, there is nobody left today that is respecting the Guyana Recital. I can say to you, big deal, I'll say the only place is here. And anybody will argue that left and right. They'll say it while they're over there, but they will not say it in the open council. Because in the open council, then if they say whatever they say, all I'm saying is wrong, then they got to prove it. And if somebody's proving it, just like you, if somebody charges you with something and they put all their evidence, well, then you got to put your evidence there. So the fact is that under the circumstances, what everybody has become is we have not become what the Great Law of Peace identifies, is that we are basically what in the non-native world, what you would identify as unionists. We are union, people of union. People who know that we must be together. But the reality of like what Mohawks are, is Mohawks run from problems. Mohawks do not deal with problems. They run. Kanyagahaga stays through the process and adheres to law right to the end. And the fact is that everybody else has been influenced by Mohawks. Mohawks to what you know as warrior society. And that warrior society mentality has spread like wildfire to everybody in so-called Confederacy territories, and they all have abandoned law. So I don't care where we are. As a matter of fact, I stood in Grand Council in the last Grand Council in August of 1989 and identified that they were now illegal because of their action. Because Taradaho himself goes down the council because of warrior society. Warrior society right here from Gunawaga. Going into the Grand Council, threatening old men who hold titles, threatening them that if they do not discuss their business, which was bingo and cigarettes, that if they didn't discuss their business, that these warrior mentalities, where most of them were not of our bloodlines, most of them were clanless people who stood there in the Grand Council and threatened old men. And those old men, and especially Taradaho himself, collapsed under their pressure. They gave in. and they closed down that council. And so my mere existence today, just me existing still, is the the fact of that I have represented it in Grand Council and continue to represent it today, that everybody else is outside of law. I said it in Grand Council. When we broke away from them, this is the last time we we broke all our connections. We severed all ties with Onondaga and Grand River in '89. All ties, and that is the expression of that. They are all illegal. If not, well, then they have to prove that we are wrong. They all say, and like some of you have heard what Harry said to you, who did Harry say that to about at the 207? They all hate me over there. Who heard that? Okay, when did he say that to you?
2 days ago.
Okay, they all hate me. Just as the way they all hated my mother. They all hated my father. Throughout the entire Confederacy, people who don't know us hate us. They'll talk about hating us, but they will not know why. You ask if you ever get to talk to anybody who says they hate us, but they will not say it to your face. You will hear it secondhand. Because outside of where it can be defended, which means they would have to substantiate, outside of that, they will never do it. Because the legal process is they hate, you have to present why. Because within the nation, if you hate somebody in the nation, I could only hate somebody that has broken law and is refusing to repair what they have broken. So the reality is, anybody who says they hate me, they cannot substantiate why. They can go into some personal, which nobody can say anything personal. They would only get into jealousies. Because nobody has ever been violated by me. And I challenge anybody in any court, in any arena in this world. Anybody right now, if they say I violated them, I don't care. They could come here right now and I would address that. If one of you said I have violated you, present it. You know I have already said to you as mothers that you have the right to correct me openly, publicly or privately, anytime you have the right to chide me if, in accordance with law, you have seen that I am misrepresenting or lying or whatever. That means you have complete opportunity at any time to correct, which means that for you to go into hate would mean that you have abandoned that process. Not that I have abandoned it, that you. And so this is the exemplification that there is no one left out there, anywhere that claims to be Longhouse, that is in accordance with law. They have all compromised to foreign law, all of them. So-called Handsome Lakers, the Christian Longhouse people, they've compromised because they no longer have law. They are what they call apolitical. And to be apolitical on the reserve, means that they recognize the foreign imposed elected band system as their representation because they are apolitical. They don't take a position against what that foreign imposed system is doing. So they're actually liars, which Christians are. They identify themselves as people of peace, but Christians are the ones that went around the world spreading war, spreading slavery, spreading hate. You look in the so-called United States, which is a Christian country. It is. I don't care what anybody says. It's very easy to prove they are a Christian country. They are the most corrupted, spreading the war, spreading hatred. So, as I can say, there is nobody within the five nations any longer that is within law. They are all outside of it. I can say the exact same thing for everybody on the planet. and I can prove it. So it's a matter of that you dealing with that circumstance of where in your mind you have to deal with that scenario of remember where who here wants to kill our mother earth, raise your hand. Nobody raises their hand. Who here is killing our mother earth, raise your hand. Everybody raises their hand. That's you inside what you got to deal with of truth, of getting reconnecting yourself with truth, aligning yourself with it, and being able to substantiate it. The only way you can talk the truth is if you yourself are that truth. Oh,
I just wanted to say that when he said that, of course, he was reporting their words. So I said to him, I said, "And you, do you like this dude?" And then he mumbled, and I didn't hear anything he said, but I just wanted to make that decision. And also, I have a question for you. Like, if some of the Onondaga's maybe like children or whoever there would like to come back to the Great Law Feast, is there steps? Is there like a protocol for that?
of course, there is protocol, and as we get further into the law, you're going to see exactly what that protocol is. Just as it's the same protocol for you. Now, you may think, well, you're not of native blood here. You're not of native ancestry. Why would somebody who was on a Daga or Ganyangahaga and outside of law, why would they have to follow the same protocol as you? Because being outside of law is no matter what. You are, if there is a line here, no matter what, there's no degree to which you're outside of law. Once you're out of it, you're out of it. There's no, you're 10 steps out of it, so okay, we'll be easier on you. You're out of it. And this is the corruption in your world, is that you allow criminals to utilize law. When to be a criminal, to, let's say, to to kill somebody, isn't that person violating all laws? How could that person utilize law then to defend themselves? They turn their back on law. This is the insanity of male dominance that gets women to accept an illegal legal system, which is the reason why you know, women in this world know that the legal system is a bullshit lie, that it is corruption, because you know that it promotes your rape. It doesn't prevent your rape, it promotes it. It makes rape legal. So that corruption, when somebody is out, but there is, well, as we go on, we get into it. Where are we at? Do we have to go for lunch or where are we at? Somebody? Lunch or what?
1:30. It's yeah.
Okay, so then we'll break at lunch. When we come back, did we start 3?
Yeah, we did.
No, we didn't start 3. We would be starting 1 from 3. Pay attention. Don't say, yeah, and we didn't. Everybody pay attention. This should be, especially the heads, paying attention to this. If I ask you what wampum we're on, it's because I'm talking about all other things that may slip my mind. You should be able to tell me right away. Pay attention. When we come back, we start on wampum 3.
Can I copy you?
Copy what?
The 2 ones that we done.
You write down all that? You can. So you have the time? Up to you. I guess we're back in the hot days now.
It's a
See,